Good morning. Welcome to First Parish in Lexington. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation and all are welcome here. My name is Shauna Yan. I'm one of the worship associates here. And I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors or first-time comers to First Parish. We welcome all families with children. We do have Sunday school for pre-K through 8th grade today, and the nursery is open for infants and toddlers. After the service, we hope that everyone will join us through either of these doors to Parish Hall for some refreshments and conversation. We have a few announcements this morning. First, I'd like to invite Rip Jackson to provide the first announcement.
Good morning, everyone. So first of all, I want to welcome all our instrumentalists. We sort of have a lot of instrumentalists today, and that's awesome and very special. Jen Cohen comes from Vermont. She has really been sort of exploring her world music passion through steel drumming, and she is going to, after church, I believe at noon, so you have a chance for coffee hour, and then if you want to come back in, not only is she going to talk a little bit about the steel drums, but you get a chance to play them and try them out, and you don't even have to read music to come enjoy it. So you're all welcome to come to her demonstration at noon back here in the sanctuary. That's announcement number one. Number two is the choir and soloists have been working very hard since January, and I've been working hard with orchestra members to present a concert next Sunday, April the 7th at 3:30 in the afternoon of Vivaldi's magnificent motet Mass Movement Gloria, and also concertos by Vivaldi and solos, arias by composers, and a concerto for trumpet and oboe. It's going to be a very special concert. We'll have all Baroque instruments, including my harpsichord. You don't get to hear that very often, and it's a very special thing. So I invite you all to come, but I also would appreciate if you see us on Facebook or you get an email or you have friends, please help us spread the word about the concert. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rip. Just a reminder, today is the last day to provide any feedback on the staff of First Parish that you'd like to provide. There are forms on the piano in Parish Hall. There's a little replica of the church, and you can put your feedback inside the little wooden replica. You can also do this online. And then 2 Sundays from now, we will be having the vegetarian and vegan potluck. So for those who are interested, please sign up for that at the piano at social hour. Please plan on bringing a dish to share and listing the ingredients. I believe Rip will be speaking as to how he chose to become a vegan himself. Now, if you could please just take a moment to silence your phones and greet those seated around you.
Good morning. I'd like to offer a call to worship that is a responsive call to worship. Would you please respond with these words written up here? We travel this road together. From the busyness of every day, we gather once a week to remember who we are, to dream of who we might become. We travel. As companions on this journey, we share the milestones we meet along the way. Individual moments of joy and sorrow become shared moments of comfort and celebration. We share this journey across differences of belief and opinion because we value diversity and because we care for one another. Today, as we take the next steps, let us notice our fellow travelers, the burdens that they carry, the songs that inspire their hearts. As we gather in beloved community, let us open the holy havens of our hearts. Let us share the sacred path places of our souls, for we are pilgrims who share a common path. And now I invite you to rise as you are willing and able and sing hymn 1074, Turn the World Around, and you can just look up here and see the words if you prefer.
We are here to practice and sustain our living tradition, to light a chalice claiming for justice the heat and power of fire. In our free faith, we are here seeking freedom from despair, the freedom to be loved as ourselves, and the freedom to grow beyond imagination. We are here gathered in the name of all that we find holy. Let us give thanks for the gift of gathering here. As Reverend Ann lights the chalice, please join me in singing the chalice lighting response found on these screens. You may now please be seated. Despite what it says in your order of service, we're going to save the unison affirmation for a little bit later on. And I now invite Jen Cohen to have a special presentation for us.
Okay, and I would like to invite any kids on up. If you'd like to take a look at these very cool instruments that I brought in today, come on up. Yeah. Oh my gosh, look, can I hold this up? So somebody brought a mini pan. Where did you get that?
I got that from Antigua.
Nice. Okay, well, would you like to have a seat for just a second? And then I'll have you come up, but I want to just talk to you for a minute. So the steel drums, which are also known as pans, were invented in the Caribbean island of Trinidad. And Trinidad is the southernmost Caribbean island. It's very close to the coast of Venezuela. And the steel drums are considered the national instrument. They take great pride in this instrument because it was invented there. And it's taught to school kids, so it would be part of your school day. If you went to school in Trinidad, you'd learn how to play the steel drums. It's on one of their postage stamps. It's on their money. They have big festivals where they compete, and they have like 100 people in a steel band that will come up and play. So it's a really important part of their culture. But it took a long time for it to become important. And I just want to tell you very quickly why I became so interested in the instrument. It was invented by the very poorest people on the island. And back in the 1800s, there were many people who were descendants of slaves, or they were brought from Asia to the island of Trinidad. And those people didn't have a lot of rights, but they had very, very strong music and rhythm heritage from where they came from. And rhythm and drumming was part of their day. Like, they couldn't imagine a day without their drumming. They would use it to cope with struggles of the day, when they were happy, when they were sad. Basically, it was an expression of their feelings, and it was super important. And there came a time in the 1800s, in the 1880s, when the government decided to ban all of the drumming. They just felt threatened by it for some reason. So at that time, those people were using animal skin drums that they made, and basically they took all those drums away and they said, you're not allowed to drum anymore. So imagine how it would feel if you had something that was just so important and you did it every day, and all of a sudden your parents said, nope, you can't do that anymore. Probably if it was important enough, you'd figure out another way to do it. And that's what happened on Trinidad. They looked around and they saw, oh, you know what, we're gonna make our instruments out of bamboo. I don't know if you know about bamboo, but it grows very quickly. So they would cut lengths of bamboo, and they would start making bands, bamboo bands. It was called bamboo tamboo. And because bamboos were kind of sticks, and because there was a bit of anger involved in, you know, why aren't we allowed to celebrate in your carnival and everything else with the music that we like? So the bamboo movement became a little bit violent, and the bamboo was taken away. And now we're into the 1900s. At the same time, more and more things were coming onto the island that were made out of metal. And so they started banging on metal. They would wrap things around their neck that had like maybe a biscuit tin or an old part of a car, and they would make music with their metal because it was that important to them. And what I want to say to you is that's the same thing for me and for a lot of other people. Music has a way of bringing us together, making us feel connected. And I can't imagine life without music. All right. Okay, and eventually they used oil drums. So these big ones, which I'm going to let you just come through and you can tap on any drum. And they figured out they could make pitches. And now today we have this wonderful instrument that has all of the chromatic tones that we use in Western music, all 12 chromatic tones. So you can play anything. So what I'm going to say is, there's one here. Why don't you just stand up and whisk on through, and maybe I can see you after the service to answer more questions, okay? Just take a tap, and some of you can take a tap, and thank you very much. Yeah. You want to come tap this one? Just give it a little tap, and then hand the mallet to somebody else, okay? And then you can go back. I don't know if you go out to Sunday school or... Yeah. You guys want to come play one over here, or you want to play the bass one? Yeah, just take a tap. Hand the mallet to somebody else. Yeah, because that one would go.
So for,
Yes, and thank you for bringing that.
so for the children, after you finish trying out those drums, you're welcome to stay for the anthem, but at the end of the anthem, pre-K to second grade, you plan on leaving for Sunday school.
Thank you, choir, for sharing your call to prayer in so many languages. The need to pray is a universal call, and I invite us into a time of prayer and meditation in our own traditions. After some words, I will invite you into a time of silence where you can listen to the beating of your own heart and pay attention to the joys and the sorrows that you bring today, and you may go to the rear of the sanctuary and light a candle to celebrate or to honor that which you bring today. We have a joy to celebrate here as a congregation. I just learned that our own church member, Cindy Davidson, who has been studying very hard to become a Unitarian Universalist minister, yesterday passed the Ministerial Fellowship Committee with the number 1, which is the highest position you can get. So if you haven't been seeing her, it's because she is already working as a minister, and this was just the next big hurdle. I speak from experience on that one. So we're very pleased for her. I'd like to share a prayer by my colleague, the Reverend Gretchen Haley. Please join me in prayer. If you had the chance to start again, to make your life from scratch, to decide what sort of person you would be, who you would love, and how the content of your days, your hours, what songs would you sing to yourself or with others? What prayers would you let fall from your lips urgently and with praise, with mercy or hope? What blessings would you name and share with strangers and friends? If you could take now that first step, what journey would you begin? Across deserts or mountains? Or would you take to the sky, which despite the bitter cold is still vast and filled with light? What work would you take? What mischief would you make with boldness and bravery? What failure would you embrace? And what would you release? And where in the end would you return and call home? In this new day on the brink of a new year, no magic wishing or wondering is required, for such a chance is always available. As with the in and out of our breath, to begin now to live like we mean it, to see with new eyes the life that is already and always available, to respond to this gift with wonder and gratitude, to join in this partnership, even when it breaks our heart, to keep showing up, to go with courage into this dawning day. Let us rest in the silence that we make together.
Our reading today is by the poet Naomi Shihab Nye. These shriveled seeds we plant, corn kernel, dried bean, poke into loosened soil, cover over with measured fingertips. These t-shirts we fold into perfect white squares. These tortillas we slice and fry to crisp strips. This rich egg scrambled in a gray clay bowl. This bed whose covers I straighten, smoothing edges till blue quilt fits brown blanket and nothing hangs out. This envelope I address so the name balances like a cloud in the center of sky. This page I type and retype, this table I dust till the scarred wood shines. This bundle of clothes I wash and hang and wash again, like flags we share, a country so close no one needs to name it. The days are nouns, touch them. The hands are churches that worship the world. I ask you now to please rise as you are able and join in singing hymn 1022, Open the Window, as displayed on the screens here. And toward the end of this hymn, if the 3rd to 8th graders can plan to leave for Sunday school. Thank you.
Over the past year, many of you participated in our imagination cafes. One thing this revealed is that you consider yourselves to be spiritual, but not religious. Now, if religion only means what we read in Merriam-Webster, faith in a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods, as they say, then I totally agree with you. Most of you do not have faith in this. That is a very Christocentric definition, by the way, in case you hadn't noticed. But if we go back to the Latin root, we see that the word religion is based on the word religare, which means to bind. This might have referenced monastic vows, which would bind a person to a set of beliefs or practices and set them apart from the world. I think there's meaning here which might ask us to set aside an outmoded definition of the word religion and explore a new perspective. So I ask you this morning, is it possible that we are indeed practicing a religion here when we come to First Parish? Not the kind of religion that insists that we all have the same belief or ontological perspective. Not the kind of religion that says, what I believe is right and what you believe is wrong. Not the kind of religion that says, my God is better than your God. There are so many reasons not to practice the kind of religion which has led humanity down dangerous paths, so that many of us reject the whole concept of religion. But I'd like to challenge that, as I often do. Now, I'm never going to ask you to practice a religion which leads to hatred of other people. The Crusades may have been about regaining Jerusalem as the holy city of Christianity, but those crusaders were filled with a sense of self-righteousness and conviction that Christianity was better than Islam or Judaism. They exported violence and hatred. I want us to practice a religion which says the opposite of that. I would never ask you to practice a religion which provides an excuse for a gunman to attack an innocent group of Muslims or Jews kneeling in prayer. I want us to practice a religion which says the opposite of that. So if religion leads to extremism, why practice it at all? Why not just go down the path of spirituality and reject all organized religion? So this is the crux of the matter. I have chosen to dedicate my life to the practice and preaching of religion. And there are many reasons why I have responded to that call. Here's just one. The word spirituality is a powerful word, and I think it serves as a substitute for the word religion among those who have rejected the traditional tenets of the Abrahamic faiths. But spirituality is not the same as religion. Spirituality is something one does alone. It is a word which refers to your own deep connection to the ultimate. It is about your own spirit, which some refer to as your soul. Saying that you are spiritual means that you value your spirit and honor that part of you, that you are not totally defined by your material, corporeal being. This is a good thing, and most of us are here today because we value that part of ourselves. It is one of the main reasons we come to church, to have time to listen to our inner voice, to expand our breathing, to connect to our spirit. But these are individual practices, not community practices. And I will challenge you all this morning to explore why it is that you come to church as a community. I don't think you come just for your own individual exploration. I think you come together to create something larger than what you could do by yourself if you were out walking on this beautiful spring day in the conservation land, instead of sitting here today with all of us. For me, religion is the communal practice of our spirituality. It is how we are together. It is what we choose to do in worship. It is how we connect our ethical stance to our spirit. It is about living in this world and knowing that we are spiritual beings in a physical body, and then putting that into practice. Our native son, Theodore Parker, had these wise words to say about religion. Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple, all space. Its shrine, the good heart. Its creed, all truth. Its ritual, works of love. Its profession of faith, divine living. Religion is the doorway into spirituality. It provides a jumping-off point for our inner voyage. Religion provides us with a set of practices and rituals which help us connect to our inner lives. And for me, ensuring safety for people who have different beliefs than I do is part of my religion. For I know that there is no way that I can have the whole truth. The world of the Spirit is vast, and there are many, many doorways into that world. Each religion has a perspective which gives us a glimpse into the ineffable. And thus, those who practice these religions must be given the space in which to do so. Yet freedom to practice religion has been threatened from the time of the Crusades until now. I had a chance last week to test my own understanding of how this works. And because I'm a Unitarian Universalist who is in the midst of resisting the white supremacy culture in which we live, I was open to the experience. After the devastation of the terrorist attack upon the mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand, many people in Lexington were upset. There had been too many attacks, too much gun violence in the name of religion, too many people killed. This attack was even more upsetting because it's right at the intersection of gun violence, anti-immigration activity, white nationalism, and Islamophobia. This is a potent cocktail of hatred. I was approached by one of our partners here at First Parish. Ragini is one of the leaders of Lexington Says Enough, the local anti-gun violence group. She thought that our local interfaith clergy would be planning a vigil, and she wanted me to be the liaison. So of course I said yes, and even more, I invited her to attend the planning meeting. So at that meeting we had clergy, civic leaders, and leaders from both the Indian American groups and the local Muslim community. It was a rich and heartening group of like-minded people, and I was honored to be in their midst. We listened to each other as we shared our concerns and our visions for how we wanted to respond. We decided that we would come together as a community and hold one event, because we had 6 different ideas in that room. We had one event with 50 prayer mats provided by our local Muslim families, one for each soul killed in the violence in New Zealand. We would hold a candlelight vigil as we have done so many times before. Because the vigil would be at sunset, we planned to make a safe space for the Muslims to pray. As you know, they pray 5 times a day, kneeling and facing northeast in the direction of Mecca. We were all filled with excitement about supporting our local Muslim families in this way. They do not have an Islamic center in Lexington yet, but as there are now about 70 families in town, they are in the process of figuring out how to come together more regularly and perhaps build an Islamic center here in Lexington where they can have community. In the absence of such a building, praying outside under the open sky is the only option for such a large group. And here's where all of you come in. For it's one thing to come together in silence and hold a candle in the darkness, and I know many of you were there on Sunday night. But it's another thing entirely to share food and conversation with people from so many cultural perspectives. And we decided to invite everyone to First Parish for samosas and chai. One of our clergy had members of his church who are selectmen, now known as the Select Board, thank goodness. One was approached to see if we might be able to hold the vigil on the Battle Green, which would include the Adhan, the Muslim call to prayer. We heard that they were very doubtful that the town would agree, and they chose not to explore that at their Monday night meeting. Well, as you can expect, this whole plan then became controversial. Some people said that allowing a prayer service on the green would set a precedent for more objectionable groups petitioning to do the same thing. There were also questions about holding an event which was clearly anti-gun violence. And I think there was also concern about people feeling left out when prayers would be held in Arabic. Now, I know that there's been a history of controversy about this. Our historic Battle Green has been a center for the Second Amendment rallying cry. Nobody wants to see the Westboro Baptists come back to promote their hateful, homophobic rhetoric. But I sense that underneath all of this concern was something else, something a little darker. I sensed that there was an assumption that certain types of prayer are acceptable in a public setting, but perhaps others might not be. I sense that behind this concern for outside groups having access to the green, there might be another more insidious refusal to allow certain cultures free and equal expression of their faith. Well, you couldn't imagine my slow simmer of a reaction. You know me well enough by now. I realized that I had prayed on the battle green many times before Patriots' Day, for instance. Nobody objected to my prayers in English from a Unitarian perspective. Getting a bit more hot under my collar, I thought, who gets to legislate what kind of prayer is acceptable? Why is Muslim prayer suddenly up for debate? Isn't the battle green here for all of us? Don't we want all of our citizens to feel welcomed for who they are? And doesn't that include accepting how they pray, whether they prostrate or not? Well, I was pretty steamed up by then. 3 members of our planning team, Ragini, Amber, and Jesse, wrote a petition to our select board asking for permission to hold the vigil. I signed this letter on behalf of our church, and I knew I needed someone with more weight in our community, so I called in the big guns. I asked Dan Fenn, beloved elder and statesman and longtime member of this church, to sign that letter. Thank you, Dan, for your support. As the day of decision approached, we had several plans worked out. Plan A, hold the vigil with prayer on the green. Plan B, hold the vigil on the green, but use our side lot for the prayer. Plan C, hold the whole thing on our private lot. You can see that I was determined to hold this vigil in proximity of the battle green and support our Muslim community by surrounding them with love while they observed their sunset prayer, whether they could be on town land or not. Seeds of protest formed in my mind and spilled out in my words. Friday morning, we all showed up at the town office bright and early, and we were thrilled that the plan was passed with a unanimous vote. Plan A it was. So Sunday night at sunset, we stood together, united in sorrow. Religious and non-religious people held candles. Tears were shed. Hearts were moved. We were one community, gathered in solidarity. Amber Iqbal from our planning team was the first woman to recite the Quran on the battle green. Faith leaders from our Jewish, Christian, Sikh, Muslim, and UU traditions joined to offer prayers for the fallen. The tears ran down my face, tears of sorrow for our loss, and tears of love and support for this historic moment. And the lights from First Parish spilled out with invitation to everyone on the green. In the gathering darkness, the Adhan call to prayer rang out strongly. More than 100 Muslims bowed in prayer, with Imam Faisal Khan from the Wayland Mosque leading them. We stood in support, silently praying with them, grateful for this moment of religions coming together, each one valued for what they teach their people. For we are one humanity, and our souls are hurting with our common loss. We think 500 people came to this vigil on Sunday, and many of them poured into First Parish for samosas and chai. Thank you to all the volunteers who made this happen. It was an historic event. I will not say that our volunteers made all the food. All of our local restaurants donated a lot of food and chai, and we're grateful for everybody's contribution. I believe that here at First Parish, we are uniquely situated to be right in the center of events like this. Our location helps, of course, but our theology is what really makes a difference. For we do not believe that God is contained within the teachings of one religion only. And therefore, in our quest for truth, we know that truth comes from many places. And I will fight for a religion like that. I want to protect the ability of others to practice their religion, just as I want the freedom to discover exactly what my religion means to me. For I have been transformed through this amazing process of practicing my Unitarian Universalist beliefs. And I want to help us shape this congregation into a place where you can decide for yourselves just what you believe and use it to shape your lives. Together we will practice our religion of love and acceptance, and our hands will be churches which worship the world. Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple, all space. Its shrine, the good heart. Its creed, all truth. Its ritual, works of love. Its profession of faith, divine living. Amen, and blessed be.
The mission of this church is sustained by the generosity of its members. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received. I invite you now to stand as you are able and join in reciting our unison affirmation, which is displayed on the screens behind me. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is our prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another to the ends that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Now, if you could please remain standing and join in singing closing hymn 327, Joy Thou Goddess, in the gray hymnal or displayed on the screen. And now please join us in singing our chalice extinguishing response.
Blessed is the path on which you travel. Blessed is the body that carries you upon it. Blessed is your heart that heard the call. Blessed is your mind that discerns the way. Blessed is the gift that you will receive by going. Truly blessed is the gift that you will become on the journey. May you go forth in peace. Amen.